are work and life separate? Or the work is in that individual's life, isn't it? So how about looking at it as a harmonious inclusion or synergy where work and life are, they coexist, right? 4 success factors. And that includes personal effectiveness, that could be achievement, satisfaction, fulfillment. One of them is relationships. There's wellness, mental, emotional well-being, and physical well-being. The 4th is the quality of life. So I would say if any of these areas are not working for someone, it's a red flag. What are the roles that I play in my life in general, right? So how do I divide my time? What is that one thing that I need to do in each of these areas that will make a huge impact?
Hi, welcome to another episode of Workwise with Naukri. I'm your host, Devas Gupta. We are living in a time of intense competition where we are constantly hustling to achieve our goals. However, somewhere we do realize that we are losing the balance between work and life. Hence, in today's episode, we will be discussing how to achieve work-life harmony. To discuss this, we have Sandhya Mathur, founder and CEO of Inward Focus, a Gurgaon-based coaching, consulting and training firm. She's an ICF accredited coach with decades of experience working with HR leaders and C-suite executives as coach. Welcome, Sandhya, to Workwise with Naukri.
Thanks so much, Devas. Good to be here.
The world needs to know your voice to answer a question that should someone work for 70 hours a week or 40 hours a week or more than that, because it impacts the work-life balance. What do you say?
Work-life balance, 70 hours, 40 hours.
That's how people look at it.
Yeah.
The world needs to know your voice to answer a question that should someone work for 70 hours a week or 40 hours a week or more than that, because it impacts the work-life balance. What do you say?
Now, what is balance for one particular individual may not be balance for another one. And where is this word balance coming from? Are work and life separate? Or the work is in that individual's life, isn't it? So how about looking at it as a harmonious inclusion or synergy where work and life are, they coexist, right?
Absolutely. I would resonate with this, since if something goes wrong at my home, maybe my relationship with my spouse, my parents, it will impact my work, the way I act at the workplace. And similarly, if I get to hear something from my boss, I will have a tough time at home. So there is a lot of interdependence in a way, right? So it's not like work or life, it's work and life. And work is a part of life. Work is not life.
And what you just said reminds me of something that, as coaches, we explore all the time, the wheel of life, where you can visualize a circle and divide it into different parts, different sections. One is emotions, relationships, profession, finance, spirituality, well-being.
We still give a lot of importance to work, since we give a lot more number of hours to work. So maybe in that wheel of life, that one section has a lot of dominance as compared to the other parts of the wheel. And that's why people like, how do I balance it? How do I practice my hobbies and spend my time with my loved ones? And that's where this thought of work-life balance is coming from.
I know there are, again, different professions, different lifestyle, right? True. My father used to travel a lot. Think of the defense. People are stationed for 6 months to a year in different parts of the country or the world, and the family doesn't get to see them. So, I'm just highlighting the point that work, life are one, not separate.
You spoke of balance. So can I say that balance is not 50-50? It is more about an equation which you define. For example, on a winter morning, while taking a bath, you cannot have 50% hot water, 50% cold water. The combination that works for you and your body is known to you. Yes, this is
Absolutely.
my balance.
Absolutely.
And that's balance, right?
Absolutely.
You said that you work for 18 hours and you're okay with that because that combination of 18 and 6 works for you. For someone, it's about 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of personal life. It works for you. Please go ahead. But then understand that it comes at the cost of maybe lack of opportunities, or you won't get ahead of those who are putting in more number of hours of work. You will certainly do well in other aspects of your life. As you mentioned, the wheel of life. Maybe you do well for your physical well-being, for mental well-being, for the spiritual side of it. Whereas a person who's putting in 18 hours of work, he will excel in his career. However, he or she will miss on the aspects in his personal life because he'll not be able to do justice in a day. Maybe in an entire week, you can balance your week in a way that one day I give it to my family, because not everyone has that privilege to change their schedule as per their whims and fancies. So if someone has to work from 9 to 5 or 9 to 8, whatever the timeline is for the 6 days of week, he looks for that vacation. He looks for those days when he can spend time with his family.
So number of hours put in, high number of hours equals high productivity. Really? Is that
Not a
true?
correlation, but then that's how the world looks at it, or the organization look at it, that if they work for more number of hours, we'll get more output from them, not realizing that the same employee will be tired, not a machine. Tomorrow when they show up, they will show up because you have a punching mechanism. There are some organizations who will misuse the equation, I would say, where there are some red flags. The culture is such that they know it, that the employee has no option than to work for us. So what are those red flags that a person should keep in mind?
So before I get into the details of the red flags, I would like to talk about 4 success factors.
Okay.
And that includes personal effectiveness, that could be achievement, satisfaction, fulfillment. There is another area that we would look at. One of them is relationships. And relationships would be personal and professional.
Professional covers everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's wellness.
Your physical well-being and your mental well-being. Okay.
Yes. Mental, emotional well-being and physical well-being. The 4th is the quality of life. So I would say if any of these areas are not working for someone, it's a red flag. Effectiveness is achievement, satisfaction. If there's no sense of achievement, if there's no sense of growth in an organization, it's, there's dissatisfaction.
It's an indication for you to look
Think
for
about
alternatives. Yes.
Or I would say it starts with awareness. And how are you thinking about it? A red flag in each of these areas. It could be the quality of life. It could be wellness. And wellness is big. It starts with emotional, and then that manifests into, all the lifestyle problems and challenges that we see today, whether it's a high BP or anxiety or all of that. But it's coming from the way you feel and those emotions that you're ignoring, continuously ignoring. There's no awareness about it.
They're more like indicators, right?
Yes. Change and the response always starts with that self-awareness. And who's going to see the red flags? Or whether it's things that are working for you or the red flags, who's going to really sense them first? The individual themselves, right? So it is very, very, the basic thing is self-awareness. You see those red flags coming up, you sense something's not really working, too much of relationship and within the politics and all of that working. Is it working for me? Now, the point is, do they have a choice? Do they have an option? Does it mean a job change? Does it mean a career change? Coming back to the 4 success factors, I would say if there is a slight imbalance in one or two,
It's a red flag.
then a red flag or
An indicator
that something needs to change, perhaps.
Yeah. So something like if on a at home while having dinner, the discussion is only about work and your boss and your job and that employee and that colleague, this is an indicator again that are you talking about each other, about your kids, about your vacation, about your next hobby, or is it just about work? It's again an indicator for you to look at it that, hey, you know what, your relationship part is still skewed towards work.
I think that all that thought process again comes from this whole compartmentalization. I mean, I'll get home sometime, let's say late at night. My husband comes home. Question is, isn't it part of our relationship to be talking about each other's day?
Yes.
Why is that such a no-no? I mean, there's got to be enough focus on this and other things. We are going to talk about the food. We are going to talk about so many other things, whether, who spoke to the girls today, who spoke to the daughters today, what happened. We'll talk about all of that. But isn't it natural to discuss your day, a good day, a bad day at work? Where else are you going to, if you're highly stressed out, if you've had a bad day, why won't you talk to your spouse about it? Because some theory says that you shouldn't carry work home. Where else? Who's going to listen? Everyone needs a listener, right? So maybe I'm going completely in a different direction than what is the norm, that is, what is the new norm, the discussions that you should kind of compartmentalize all this. Go home, talk to your spouse. And then, of course, once that is done, the evening or whatever is left of the evening is yours, right?
So it's not like work all life, it's work and life.
Yeah.
Talk about work
it is
as
part
well as
of my
life.
life. It is a part of my life. And look at it the other way. If I go home and my family doesn't ask me, how was your day? What happened? You'd gone for this meeting. We know that it was an important meeting. How did that go? How will I feel? Right?
So this is like one great tip. Apart from this, what individuals can do to have a healthy work-life balance?
So this is personally just my theory on this. There are the 4 P's. The letter P. Purpose, priorities, planning, and then practice. Now, when I say purpose, you could say mission, vision, although mission and vision are different. The purpose in which that little thought, that little drive, that little intrinsic motivation that makes you jump out of bed every morning. What is that? What are the roles that I play in my life in general? Well, if I were to talk about me, I would say wife, mother, daughter, daughter-in-law, a coach, right? So how do I divide my time? Those are the roles. What is it that I need to do in each of these areas? What is that one thing that I need to do in each of these areas that will make a huge impact? And then identify what I need to do, right? Creating a purpose, a vision, a mission, break it up into all of that and say, this is what I need to do as a mother, even if it is just to call my daughter who lives abroad. This is what I need to do for the home. This is what I need to do for me. And yes, I didn't say the me. All of those roles, but what do I do for myself? I mean, I would say visualize a large glass container.
Okay.
And you put all of these roles, the roles you play, and the purpose, the big goals that you have in these, the big things that you need to do into on one side, and there's one empty glass jar. And then there are some small green and blue and pink pebbles that represent all of those small thoughts that are moving around in your head. I've got to do this, I've got to, there is the travel time, there is this and there is that, I need to go shopping. And if you had to bring all of this together, what would you do? How would you do it? Would you layer the pebbles first and then put those big rocks on top? Or would you how would you arrange it in that glass?
The essentials first, and then in the remaining spaces, you fit in those pebbles.
You just pour in those pebbles, right?
Yes, exactly.
And for one, that glass jar is going to look beautiful. And that's how a balanced, harmonious life would also look like.
Can I say that for someone who has just joined the workforce, he has bills to pay, he has responsibilities, maybe a loan, a lot of things at home as well. For him or her, the bigger purpose is to get money at home.
Yes.
At the cost of maybe putting in more number of hours of work, sacrificing your mental being, well-being, all that stuff, that takes a backseat. And the bigger stone in that glass jar is getting good money, learning a skill, sharpening your skill set so that you can grow in your career. True. That's the purpose for that individual.
Absolutely.
If you have crossed that stage and you are at a place where you can now bring in one more stone and share that limited space, one with your career, with putting those number of hours of work for your career, and now you realize that, I can give time to my physical health as well. That takes the space. So every person will prioritize based upon their preferences.
Absolutely.
For example, if a person has gone through a burnout, for example, while working for so long, so hard, he will realize that I should have taken a pause and taken care of my physical health, else I'll not be able to run any further. And what I understood from this conversation so far, that if you have to plan well, you have to manage your energies well. So what can employers do to encourage an environment which breeds happiness, which breeds productivity at the same time?
They need to, first of all, be in sync with the employee's mindset. What is the general feeling around? Because ultimately, leadership is not about your skills. It is about dealing with people, right? Mm-hmm. Working with people. What's working for them? What are the pressures that they are feeling? So, of course, understand their sensibilities and then create an environment. Again, I would say a number of companies are doing that. Rather than this whole, number of hours equals high productivity theory, what about getting into a flexible approach where there is focus within a framework, within a structure, where quality is maintained, where productivity is maintained?
It has been taken for a ride. In the COVID times, working from home, people have misused it.
Of course.
And then the leadership doubts that we gave you the freedom and then you misused it.
That is true. So there's got to be integrity on both sides. There's got to be some checks and balances there.
A lot of people had this hue and cry that why are we being called to the office? We can always work from home. If you are working from home as diligently, we had no issues. But if you're not working and just pretending that, yes, we are working, don't worry, companies will have a concern for sure.
Absolutely. There was a time when the pandemic was gone and people were still working from home, and there were movie halls and malls that were absolutely full during the day.
They could log in from the system that, I am logged in. But
so a few hours of, and that was, people thought that was work-life balance. It was needed for some time and it worked for some time. And employers took into account what was working for, childcare is a problem. Mm-hmm. So that is another thing that organizations could do.
Yes.
They make sure that working parents are taken care of, and childcare facilities and other incentives are there. Because childcare, to my mind, is it takes away nearly 50% of the talent from the market, because then the mothers stay at home. You're losing out on so many, you're really losing out on talent. So ensuring that people have that balance, they are fine, they can take care of their family, they can work and all of that. Well, so each one of us, my advice would be to identify those areas that are priorities, those large goals that I have to do these. It's going to be most impactful. And then kind of work around everything else.
So there's a difference between the person you are at work and outside your work. There's a big, big gap. You need to think that, are you being authentic to your true self?
Yes.
Or are you just putting up a facade to showcase to the world out there? The moment you bridge that gap, you become more authentic.
Absolutely. And because that inauthenticity at some point of time is going to get really stressful. Because how long are you going to be doing just being who you are not? That is what I mean.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight.
Thank you
It was
so much.
absolute delight to listen to you and gain these insights. Thank you so much.
Thanks a bunch. Been a pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks for watching this episode of Workwise with Naukri. Hope you liked this episode. If you did, subscribe to the show and we'll see you in the next episode.